Good morning and welcome on this rainy Sunday. Such a change from yesterday. Isn't it amazing how it goes one day to the next? I'm the Reverend Natalie Fenimore. I serve this congregation as minister along with the Reverends Ned White and the Reverend Jennifer Brower. Jennifer is on sabbatical, and I hope you all look forward to seeing her and her new and wonderful things that she brings back from sabbatical when she returns next year. If you are new to us today, I wish you welcome on behalf of the congregation. We hope that you have a good experience here today, and we invite you to a complimentary luncheon immediately following the service. That's our weekly UU Cafe over in the social hall. You can get a gold guest lunch card at the welcome area out in the lobby. It's also an opportunity for you to find out more about us and to talk to our membership coordinator. While you can sit anywhere you'd like in the cafe and talk to anyone you'd like, we have set aside 2 tables especially designated for newcomers, which is near the serving line in the cafe. If you're interested in more information about the congregation, please complete the blue newcomer card, which you'll see in front of you in the pews, or at the welcome area. Place it in the collection basket when it comes around, because we do take a collection. And someone will get back to you about your interests and information that you might want to have about us. I also invite you to look in the order of service and see the many activities that we have going on the next week or two here in the congregation. Pick one that speaks to your heart and mind and jump right in. I'd like to highlight for you today the large grants dot table, which is out in the lobby. Please go and give them a talk to. There's a new member orientation today at 1 o'clock in the Beach Ballroom. And there is artist reception also at 1 o'clock in the art gallery. There is also a memorial service for our late member Yvonne Kenny at 1 o'clock in the chapel today. I also would like to read for you a special note from the Reverend Ned White. You may have noticed that Ned is listed as the minister preaching the sermon today. I am the minister preaching the sermon today, so wherever you see Ned in the order of service, switch it to Natalie. So I'll be using Ned's theme, but my words today. Ned will be writing a sermon which he will preach to you at some other time on this theme. Ned writes to you, hello from the hospital. I've been discovering the cardinal virtue of patience, that is patience, since last Tuesday evening when I went to the urgent care with chills and generally feeling lousy. I've learned that I have diverticulitis, an infection of the colon that the doctors at Northwell Health have been treating with a surgical procedure and antibiotics. Both show signs of working. It's not clear exactly when they'll release me, but I expect in the next couple of days. There are still questions about what we'll be doing here at UUCSR while Ned is away, and he will likely require follow-up surgery later this fall. He'll work with the ministry team, at that point that means me, to develop a plan for keeping our work moving along, which we will do. Ned says that he's in very good medical hands and family and friends are being very supportive. However, to conserve my very limited physical energy, says Ned, I am requesting no visitors. I'll keep you updated through happenings and the quest. I'm in good spirits and hope to be back at work soon. Cheer and blessings, Ned. And I can assure you, I have spoken with him. He is among the living and getting better. He does sound a little tired. And I hope that you will honor his request for no visitors and no calls at this time until he is a little better. He misses you all. And so now, as is our custom, I invite you to greet your neighbor. these opening words from Friedrich Buchner. The time is right for looking back over the day, the week, the year, and trying to figure out where we have come from and where we are going to. For shifting through things we have done and things we have left undone for a clue to who we are and who, for better or worse, we are becoming. But again and again, we avoid the long thoughts. We cling to the present out of weariness of the past. And why not? After all, we get confused. We need such escape as we can find. But there is a deeper need yet, I think, and that is the need, not all the time surely, but from time to time, the need to enter that still room within us where the past lives on as part of the present, where the dead are alive again, where we are most alive ourselves to turnings and to where our journeys have brought us. The name of the room is Remember. The room where, with patience, with quietness of the heart, we remember consciously to remember the lives we have lived. And so now we will light our chalice with the words of David Bumball with assistance from the Queen. We are here dedicated to the proposition that beneath all our differences, behind all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together in spite of time and death and the space between the stars. Please rise in body or spirit for hymn number 103, For All the Saints. Remain standing for the words of affirmation and song of affirmation. The words are in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest of truth is sacrament and serves as its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve unity. This to live firm and covenant with each other. We will now take an offering for the life and work of this, our congregation. In these times of trouble in the world, please know that the gifts you bring forward will be used to help support this community in its work out in the world, as well as providing spiritual sanctuary for people here on this property. It is a gift out to the greater world which you give, and it is received in gratitude. Will the ushers please come forward? I now invite you to join me in responsive reading number 721 at the back of the hymnal. I will speak the words in bold, and you will speak the words in italics, which follow. In the struggles we choose for ourselves, in the ways we move forward in our lives and bring our world forward with us,
it is right to remember the names of those who give us strength and the choice for living. It is right to name the power of our lives well lived.
We share a history with those lives. We belong to the same motion.
They too were strengthened by what had gone before. They too were drawn on by the vision of what might come to be.
Those who lived before us, who struggled for justice and suffered injustice before us, have not melted into the dust and have not disappeared. Their words remind us and call us back to ourselves. Their courage and love evoke our own. We the living carry with them we the living carry them with us. We are their voices, their hands, and their hearts. We take them with us, and with them choose the deeper path of living. I now invite you to call into the room the names of those whose lives have strengthened your own. We now have above us this great cloud of witnesses, and in their presence, I invite you to light a candle of joy or sorrow, memory or hope at either of our candle boxes. we are surrounded now by our saints, our departed loved ones, those who have inspired us to live our lives, those who have shown us a way to be human. In silence, we invite them closer to us now. And we will light special candles of care for the Reverend Ned White, for Yvonne Kenny and her family, who will be holding her memory ever closer today during her memorial service. And to remember this, the 5th anniversary of Hurricane Sandy. We hold in our hearts also many joys and sorrows, many memories unspoken, unshared. But please know they have a place in this room, that they are always welcomed here. I offer this prayer by Susan Brown. Holy One of blessing, as we gather on this All Saints' Day, let us call into our minds and hearts all those saints who blessed our lives. Those family saints, spouses and partners and mothers and fathers, grandparents, great-grandparents, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, cousins, saints who modeled living for us, who stay with us through the years and the days and all the times of need and joy. We give thanks. Those family and friends, those friend saints, childhood and adulthood friends, these young and not so young, tea time and coffee time and mealtime friends who listen and cry with us and laugh with us, we give thanks. Those work saints, friends, co-workers, bosses and employees and fellow travelers, those mentors and teachers who are with us when goals are hard to name and when trying to work with dignity and integrity seems so very hard to do. We give thanks. Those community saints, those who serve, those elected or not elected, those educators and manufacturers and nurturers whose presence makes our daily life easier and more pleasant. And for those who toil and strive to bring a vision of justice, equality, and peace to our world, we give thanks. Those unnamed, unknown saints, those who overcome obstacles and teach us how to overcome obstacles, those whose presence reminds us that we are called to do more than we ever thought possible, those who bear burdens and let us assist them in bearing of those burdens, those who give willingly and unselfishly, those who demonstrate strength and courage and wisdom in the face of pain and tragedy. We give thanks. Today, we are called to recognize all saints. Therefore, let us learn to recognize the sainthood in all others and the sainthood in ourselves. Blessed be. Yay. We have gathered around us our ancestors. We have gathered around us our great cloud of witnesses. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. This is a hymn by Unitarian Universalist singer and composer Esai Barnwell. We are. Each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Barnwell reminds us of our connectedness to our ancestors and to our children, that we are aligned, we are perhaps a circle. We are connected to what has come before and we carry it forward. We are connected to those who have lived this life before us. We sit here in this time when the season is turning. We begin to feel the coolness in the air. We look and we see the trees begin to turn their brilliant colors. Some people call this actually a second spring. The earth is preparing to rest. And in the past, human activity also took a rest. The harvest was done. The days were short, and the light went away early. And the people wondered, and the people worried. Had they put away enough food for the winter? Had they gathered close enough to one another, close enough together to be safe in the wildness, in the darkness? Also, in this coming darkness, human beings have been known to seek the comfort of their ancestors, to seek the wisdom of those who knew how to get through the darkness and back to the light, to seek their love and their guidance, their wisdom and their protection. And perhaps, although we may be loath to admit it, there is still within us some thought, some worry that the warmth and the sunshine might not return, that spring might not come, or that it might come too late for us. We might ask ourselves, have we put enough aside for the hard winter? Perhaps that winter is no longer just a season for us. Perhaps there are other ways in which winter preparedness still calls to our souls. Even our modern scientific selves may secretly say that we are afraid that the world will come to harm, that there are things we do not know and cannot control, and that we still hope for guidance and protection, that we still fear death, that we hate its finality and we want to fight against it. Perhaps even as we join with Judaism's view that death is part of the cycle of life, we still worry. We still push back at it. We still want to know what's on the other side so that we can feel safe going there. From time immemorial, human cultures have sought to acknowledge moments, times, seasons when we reach out and touch the past, when we bring it close as if it was still alive for us. We want to see those we have loved who have died and to hold their memories as close to us as we once held their physical bodies. Cultures throughout the world set aside days to visit graves and resting places of family and friends, to offer gifts food, flowers, a drink, to honor those who have died, and to ask them for their protection, for their wisdom, for their guidance, and how we, the living, can manage remaining without them. Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead celebration in Mexico that is now prominent here in the United States, is a combination of Roman Catholic ritual and festivals that date back to Aztec times. In Aztec times, these festivals honored the queen of the underworld, the ruler of the afterlife. The Day of the Dead has come to remind us of the universal equalizer, which is death. In Mexican communities, the Day of the Dead and the queen of the underworld is a reminder to those who are rich that they face the same death as those who are poor. Unitarian Universalist minister Forrest Church famously said, religion itself is the human response to being alive and having to die. All Souls Day, All Saints Day, All Hallows Eve are such moments as well. They are part of the Christian tradition. In the early church, early Christians commemorated the life and death of the martyrs, those who died for their faith. But very soon in Christianity, it was decided that commemorations should be more than just for those who died for their faith. It should be for those who lived for their faith. Those who lived well and faithfully should also be commemorated. And that the souls of all our loved ones should be held in prayer. These Christian days of memory also developed in relationship to the Celtic festival of the dead, Samhain. Samhain means summer's end, and was the pre-Christian Celtic celebration of the end of the harvest and the start of the coldest half of the year. It was the spiritual new year, a time for remembering and paying respects to the dead. So all the dead, all our saints go before us, and we wonder if they are preparing a way, smoothing a path ahead for us. Or is it that the lives they have led have already showed us the way? Is the lives that they have led, is that the path we should be looking at and trying to understand? Our very distant Unitarian Universalist ancestors, the Pilgrims and the Puritans, came as religious separatists to America. And they were called many things by many people then and now. But they called themselves the godly. They called themselves the saints. A little presumptuous. However, in their own eyes, they were working to purify the church. They thought of themselves as acting as saintly because of what they did and how they lived, their willingness to be all in on their religious commitment, their willingness to get in a wooden boat and travel across an ocean to be closer to their vision of God, to build a community based in covenant as we do today. History has shown us that the Puritans and the early English settlers here in America were not saintly in their treatment of native peoples and captive Africans. And so our Unitarian Universalist theology has moved away from that, those strictly Protestant roots, and is now more inclusive, more pluralistic. And still, I sometimes wonder, would we get in a wooden boat and travel across an ocean to make a covenanted community now? What risks do we take? How do we claim our sainthood? And yet there are Unitarian Universalist saints. We gather around us this other great cloud of witnesses whenever we come together, whenever we sit in this room, because here above us, looking at us, there is Michael Servetus, there is Francis David, there is John Murray, there is Ethelred Brown, there are A. Powell Davies, those who spoke of liberal religion over the centuries. There is John Murray, there is Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau and William Ellery Channing, who shaped our faith and moved us toward a concern for justice. There is Susan B. Anthony and Lucy Stone and Frances Harper, who campaigned for the full inclusion of women in the social, political, and spiritual life of this country. Viola Luiso and James Reeb were killed fighting for civil rights in the American South in the 1960s. These Unitarian Universalists were brave people, and these brave people are our religious ancestors. These brave people are our saints. They risked so much, their souls, their fortunes, and even their lives to live their principles. Guided by their faith, they moved out into the world with lives that can now be seen by us as an example, lives which can guide us. Their lives are lives we honor and for which we give thanks, and by which we and our faith are enriched and made immortal. They are our pilgrim saints, the pilgrim saints of our faith. Who are your pilgrim saints? Who in your lives have stood aside from the dictates of the world, who have chosen to give their hearts, their minds, their time, their touch to fill your life with meaning? Who has chosen to be for you a giver of dreams and hopes and aspirations? Who has lived a life which you choose to see as an example? Who, though they be dead, remain alive in your heart and give you strength to overcome the darkness of the season to come, the darkness of this, our troubled world. We may not visit their graves and bring offerings, but we must know and tell their stories. We must speak their names. Our actions in our own lives are the ways we follow their example and the ways we honor them. We are their living legacy. For me, my mother is a saint. Perhaps that was not always evident to either of us while she was alive and I was living in her house. But her life has become a great example for me. She lived and lives large in my life. She guides and protects me long after her death. I hear her sound in my ear when I'm trying to make a decision. I hear her voice helping me with what is right and what is wrong. I know that I am part of a line that led to her, and my daughter an extension of that line. What saint is in your life? What saint are you becoming in the lives of others? Welcome all our saints. They are not our honored dead because of their perfection. Indeed, some continue to challenge us to the point of aggravation long after death. They can be willful and persistent and even stern, but they are present. They nurture and welcome and heal and listen and teach. These are the words of the Reverend Leslie Tasha Hockey. In the daily weave of our lives, those who have died are still strong, guiding threads. Theirs is the golden glimmer, or perhaps the bright red or the melancholy blue. Still, they are part of the whole cloth of our lives. They are the ancestors, the goers before. Through this, we know immortality. In the hour-to-hour rush of our daily lives, they travel with us through something they taught us, which is now ours to do. Through something they loved, which is now ours to carry out. Through something we shared, which is now ours alone and yet not. Through this, we know immortality. In the minute-to-minute grasp of where we are, we remember the joys our departed gave us, which opened us up to hope, the sorrows we knew together, which taught us strength, the life shared, which is now ours to steward. Through this, we know immortality. In the second-to-second pulse of life, we sense the spirit of those who have loved and lost. This presence is too shy for naming, too amorphous for full knowing, and yet as real as the day we shared. They are more than remembered. They are memory itself. For what we love lives on in the way our beloved dead accompany us through life. Their words and wisdom, our guide, their humor, our relief, their restless concern for the world, our charge. Through this, we know immortality. May our beloved saints be present in our lives. May we welcome their continued guidance, love, and protection. May they be with us and we with them. So may it be. Amen. You want to? Okay. Stephen would like us to sing We Are. It's in the teal hymnal, and the number is 1051.
It seems to me if Natalie can preach a sermon like that with no notice, we can sing a hymn with no notice, can't we? Let's sing, it's 1051 in the teal hymnal, and I'd just like to give you a little indication here. We sing, if you all get there, on the first page, we sing those first two lines twice, and then we go on at the end of the first page to sing that, the entire second page, the third page, 3 lines, and then we go back. This sounds confusing, but it's not. You can follow us. We go back to the bottom of the first page and sing those pages again. So again, I'll say it. We sing the first 2 lines, and then we sing them again, and then we go on singing the next complete page, and almost the complete page of number 3 to the third, to Wisdom of Ages, and then we go back. Just follow us. We're in E minor, and let's sing We Are. Who's stand?
Yeah. Better for stand.
We are
choir. Thank you, congregation. I offer these words in closing from Barbara Peskin. Because of those who came before, we are. In spite of their failings, we believe. Because of and in spite of the horizons of their vision, we too dream. Let us go remembering to praise, to live in the moment, to love mightily, to bow to the mystery. Amen.